We're going to next talk about common table expressions, and they are a way to kind of making your code more modular or creating kind of functions to call, similar to how subqueries and views kind of work. But when I use a lot of subqueries, the code tends to get very complex quickly. It's fine with one or two subqueries typically, but especially if I'm doing some select statement that builds on another select statement that then builds on another select statement, so many hierarchies of select statements, then subqueries quickly get very difficult to read and understand. I do like views in those instances. If I name the views something descriptive that I kind of understand the output, then it feels like I'm working with tables almost instead, and that's quite helpful, especially when I'm building one query upon another. However, the problem with views is that if I need to kind of edit it or I need to look into the code as I'm coding other views or other queries, then I typically have to go into the database schema and open up the view and view the code that way. And it takes a little bit of time to do that, so it's not readily available in front of me. There is another alternative, and that is what this common table expression provides. Common table expressions are kind of like temporary views that are only available within the CTE itself. Common table expressions are referred to CTEs a lot of times. So it's almost like you're creating temporary views that can then be used within the CTE by other views or by a final select statement that's used. So the structure of a CTE is, it starts with a keyword with, and then you have the name of the first temporary view. And by the way, they're not really called temporary views, I just call them that. And then you have as, and then comes a select statement that is the actual view itself, or the temporary view. And then you can be done here if you want to. So you would cut that off right here. And then you would have the final select that then probably calls this temporary view, the name in here. Or you can add more temporary views by just doing comma and then another name and then as and then another select statement with parentheses around it. And these other temporary views, and you can keep going here, of course. Here you can have another just name, as, and then parentheses. All these other temporary views can refer to prior CTs or prior temporary views, and not prior outside of the CT. It has to be inside the CT. And also this final select statement, of course, can refer to all these. So they're kind of a good way of creating temporary views in a way that feels a little bit more separated and not so nested as subqueries, but they are still available in plain view, as opposed to views where you have to kind of go into this database schema to find them typically. So they kind of provide a little bit best of both worlds. Not that subqueries are not sometimes preferable. For example, if I'm just doing one subquery, a lot of times I feel like a CT is a little bit of overkill. Or if I'm having a lot of views, then, or especially if I have a view that will be used by many other queries, that kind of split up into different paths in my logic, then sometimes CT is not the preferred option either. So, but it's nice to have another option to work with. So in this exercise, we're just going to rewrite the following code, which came from question 6 as a CTE. So I'm going to start by copying this code. I'm going to copy the general structure here of the CTE. Alright, so basically each one of these as are my subqueries or my views. So what I need to do is in this code, I just need to find the subquery. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And then I'm going to place that in here. And then I need to name this something. But what this is representing is that from the sales order header, I'm finding unique customers and their shipping locations, which means these are customers that have orders. So I'm going to just name this customers with orders. Generally, you try to name something that's descriptive of what's being returned, and then also kind of what it is that you're going to be using it for in your final select statement. All right, and in here, we don't have any other subqueries. Everything else is part of the main query. So I'm only going to have one temporary view in here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And then we have our select statement here, which is going to be all of this. Copy that down. And then when I'm inner joining here, what I'm inner joining is this customers with orders now instead of the subquery. So I'm going to replace a subquery with this customers with orders. And then now I should be able to just run this. Let's Let's see if that works. And these are our customers in Kansas, Colorado, and Utah that have placed orders. So in this code, then, just to clarify, here I'm having a select statement and I'm saving the select statements as a result set that's called customer with orders. And this result set is then used inside this other query. So it's very similar to using a view, except for that the view is available right here for me to look at.